last 15 seconds. Guidance is internal. 12, 11, 10, 9. Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running.
High tech. Everything I do is high tech. Oh yeah, that's the way it is here. So, folks, welcome to episode 2 of Give Life. Episode 2. I am your host, meek, mild-mannered Paul Abramson. Broadcasting to you from my multi-trillion-dollar recording studio here in southern Indiana. I'm going to repeat a couple things or a few things from the first episode. First, this was real money. This was in Zimbabwe, 500 or $100 trillion bills. You can buy these on eBay. Don't pay more than 75 cents or $1 per bill. In other words, you can buy like 20 of them for $15 US, something like that. Okay, I want to remind you of a few things from episode 1 that I consider important. So I'm 65, I'm in southern Indiana. I've lived lots of places, originally from Seattle and Portland. I've lived in Europe. I've lived all over the U.S., Vermont, Texas, Chicago, a wide variety of places. I've lived overseas twice. I was in Germany for about 3 years, in Japan for about 5 years, and I've traveled to lots of countries. Used to be able to speak some German and pretty good at Japanese, and you can't see that light? Okay, so I improved my audio, I think. Oh, and I'm wearing a suit today, even though I told you I was going to wear Hawaiian shirts. So I hope you're happy wearing a suit. And this is a Grateful Dead tie. Did you know the Grateful Dead did a series of men's ties? Isn't that funny? Now, remember I used to live in Berkeley and San Francisco area for about 5 years in Berkeley, Berkeley, working in downtown San Francisco, downtown Oakland. That was during the dot-com boom 20 years ago. And it was 30 years ago, roughly, when I lived in Japan. And, okay, so, and I say too much. The guy in the first video, he was like he just would not stop, would he? Oh my goodness. Anyway, this is going to be about movies, but first, as I said, I do want to emphasize a few things. Spiritual. This, to my understanding so I'm a Bible-believing Christian. Okay, spiritual part of life is the most important part of life. I want to recommend to you not just devotionals, not just hearing a sermon one Sunday. Please read 2 books of the Bible. Please read John. See, this has lots of reference in the back here. New Testament. I have a New Testament. So if you have a New Testament, this is New Testament. If you have a New Testament, it's the 4th book in the New Testament, John. Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, the Gospel according to St. John. Okay, so it's not very far in. Now, at the very end of the New Testament, at the very end of the Bible, there are 3 really little books called 1 John, 2 John, 3 John. Those are good, but that's not what I'm suggesting. I'm suggesting the Gospel of John. It's got 21 short chapters. It's not a chapter like we normally rate them in a book, like, oh, no, it's going to be 20 pages. No, it's about 1.5 pages per chapter. But it's dense. It's not an email. Please don't skim John. Please read it. Also, online, there are audio and video versions of the Gospel of John. Gospel is spelled Gospel. Here, I'll put it up here. Oh, I've changed my format this time. Did you see that? So I'm putting the Proverbs and other sayings up on top. Oh, background music. So I'll get that started again here now. So this is 4 different friends. Randy A., Stephen S., Brian H., and Monty L. have all given me permission to use their music as background music. So you'll hear that. And then I've got some comedians or hopefully funny stuff. I tried to pick a good variety of things, make it interesting. And then anyway, the Proverbs and sayings up on top. Anyway, excuse me, I should have mentioned the format. Okay, please read the Gospel of John over the next month or month and a half. Or in a few hours, one afternoon or one evening. I mean, start reading it, and then in the course of just a few nights, you can read it. Another book of the Bible I strongly recommend is the book of Proverbs. It's in about the middle of the Bible. If you had a whole Bible, which I've got a couple here, here's one, then Proverbs is right in the middle, okay? So if I turn the Bible your way, Proverbs is right after Psalms. Psalms is spelled Psalms. Psalms. But the P is usually not pronounced. Okay, Psalms is what it's called. The next book is Proverbs. It's 31 chapters. In an average month, you've got 30 to 31 days, right? So in 1 month, at 1 chapter a day, you could read the book of Proverbs. Please do that. This is dense wisdom from 3,000 years ago, halfway back in human history. I had showed you this timeline last time. I'll show you the full screen. So you can use the Bible and the Bible's view, or the Bible's perspective of history, to divide up human history in half from about 4004 BC approximately till about 1000 BC. That's 3,000 years, right? And then 1000 BC, that's the time of David and Solomon, so the height of ancient Israel. 1000 BC until today is about 3,000 years, right? 3,000 and then 3,000. We're 6,000 years old. Yes, I believe that. Yes, I do. And then we have 1,000 years coming, yet future, called the millennium. You can also divide human history into thirds using the Bible. From creation until the time of Abraham and Job. Where did I get it? Oops, it's over here. Abraham and Job, and then Job and Abraham to the time of Jesus, another 2,000. So 2,000, 2,000, and then from Jesus and the apostles till today, 2,000 years. Okay? So, anyway, our ancient human history. And I also showed you the books of the Bible. This was last time. This is a chart I got from another web page. I'm giving them credit down here. I'll also show this full screen. I was going to make my own version of this, but I decided, this is an excellent one, so I'll give them credit. I hope they don't mind. And I've looked at their site. They do a very good job of overview of the Bible. So please take a look at what they've got going on. And I pointed out, I'm not almost done with my review here, but I want to review a few things. The 10 Commandments and the 2 Commandments. So one of the main, something that was so important to God to tell humans, is the 10 Commandments, okay, to Moses up on Mount Sinai. This is in Exodus chapter 20, and then Jesus summarized down here the 2 Commandments. Love God with your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. Now, in Exodus chapter 20, there are 17 phrases that compose the 10 Commandments. So it's Exodus chapter 20, verses 1 through 17. We don't know how it was divided into 10 commandments. So there are 3 different versions. And the reason I'm mentioning that, as a person who used to live in Berkeley, and atheists and skeptics sometimes want to get really snide. And you'll say the 10 commandments, and they'll say, which version of the 10 commandments? And then for the average believer, it's like, we're not trying to disprove the Bible. It's like, what do you mean which version? The version in the Bible. But the believers have divided it 3 different ways. There's what's generally called the Jewish version. It's the same 17 verses. The Jewish version, the Catholic and Lutheran version, and then the Protestant version. That's generally what they're sometimes called. It's the same 17 verses, but it's divided different ways. First, though, I need to mention Western-based movies. So America and Canadian movies, Australia, European movies, often have Bible-related things in the subtext. One of the things from the book of Revelation, near the end of the Bible, the last book of the Bible, okay, you know that, probably you know that, is a woman rides the beast. So during the Great Tribulation, 7 years, okay, a woman rides the beast is one of the images in the book of Revelation. And so it's 2023 when I'm filming this. Last summer, in 2022, in Birmingham, England, they had the Commonwealth Games, and I want to show you some of the imagery of this. So here's women in chains behind this bull, behind this beast. Oh, excuse me, one other thing I should tell you before I go into that. There's 2 chapters in the Old Testament that relate to the Messiah when the Messiah is suffering and dying for our sins. One is Psalm 22, the other is Isaiah 53. And in Psalm 22, there's a very interesting verse that the bulls surround him, surround Jesus, surround the Messiah with the Christ while he is dying, bulls of Bashan. That is the only verse in the Bible that mentions this. We don't know what those creatures are. They are probably some kind of a spiritual being, not bulls as we know them, but a representation, a lower dimensionality being that we would maybe think of as or see as bulls. Okay, the bulls surround me. I'll put that verse up here. Okay, so now one of the things in Revelation is a woman rides the beast. And look at these things in Birmingham, England. Women in chains. You see the people bowing to this giant bull. You see them trying to appease the bull. It's got red eyes and stuff like that. There's more imagery, but if you're a Bible-type person and you didn't know this happened, well, you might want to be aware of this, because they're getting ready for the one world government and then for our basically human enslavement under this stuff. Okay, now, the reason I'm also mentioning this is because the movie Metropolis. Okay, so that's where I'm starting. I'm going to start with a couple of silent films. And the movie Metropolis, 1927, was one of the great films of the silent era, and it's been restored. It's been restored using high resolution image processing, which includes AI, and it's online. It's available if you get a good copy of it, a good version, either from the library or on eBay or somewhere, or on YouTube. If YouTube has it online, which I think they do, then you can watch it, and it's a very well done film. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry, I don't want to build these movies up too much, because then maybe you'll be disappointed when you watch it. I like the imagery, the storytelling, this multi-dimensional, the way that they're telling a story, they're creating this universe, okay? Modern examples might be Star Trek, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, those different series, okay? But as old as films are, which is about 120 years, so around 1900. Oh, one of the earliest movies, I think it was 1902. I don't have this written down. Man on the Moon. I'll write it down here. You've probably seen this image of a space rocket in the moon's face. That's a 1902 silent movie. It's a short one. It's actually pretty funny to watch, okay? Images. It tells you a little bit about the era, what they thought about the moon, what they thought about the idea of life on the moon, life in space and stuff. Okay, so anyway, Metropolis, excellent film, if you get a chance to see it. Now, I want to tell you a few others here, a couple others in the silent film era. Intolerance, 1916. Wow. Okay, I'm sorry, I don't want to build these up too much. Okay, here is kind of the most famous scene from Intolerance of 1916 by D.W. Griffith, and that is Babylon, ancient Babylon. Again, using a Bible-type reference. And I want to show you, okay, do you see how this Babylon, and how many people are there, and how ornate this was? Well, this was 1916. This is before the studios. They were at that time starting to build the Hollywood studios. And now I want to show you this same set from the side. Look at that. Isn't that incredible? Okay, so the front is on the right side of what you're looking at. So the camera's POV, point of view. I'm going to show you the main scene again. Here's how it looked from the front. Okay? Now here's what, I'm sorry I'm elaborating on this. It was just so stunning. Here it is from the side again. There's actually D.W. Griffith, his ability to visualize and then create this set is incredible. So in Intolerance, there are 4 stories that are interwoven. And it's a slower pace than modern films. It takes about 20 or 30 minutes before it starts to all make sense. The hand that rocks the cradle, the hand that rocks the cradle, the woman rocking the cradle, the baby, the next generation. So there's a lot of imagery in it. There's Bible-type images that are there, and then there's modern images. How hatred and intolerance, the title of the movie, is at war with love and charity, as it says. Okay? Anyway, that happens many times in history. And one could contend it's happening now in America. In America, we were one of the countries 70, 80 years ago that freed so much of the world from dictators and tyrants that were out there that helped to free them and things. But now America is changing very quickly. Okay. Last silent film I want to mention is Wings. Wings from 1927 was the only silent movie that ever won an Academy Award for Best Picture. Now, the talkies, where they started having sound in pictures, started in 1929, okay? So 1927, they don't have any talkies, there's no sound. Wings is so, I'm sorry I'm pumping these up so much. I'm sorry, I don't want you to be disappointed. It is such a well-made film. The way the body language, I want to mention something about body language, the facial expressions, because they've got to communicate without using words. They've got to communicate each scene, and they do such a good job of it in Wings. Now, body language. Okay, have you ever gone to a play, a Shakespeare play, a high school play, vaudeville, other kind of play? They will tend to exaggerate their movements. You are the cause that I have had these problems. Or they'll go, okay, because most people are 50 feet or 100 feet away, right? And so they exaggerate their body language to show you, because you may not be able to see the face. Have you ever seen opera glasses? Oh, I do declare this is such an amazing opera. Isn't it just so beautiful to be watching? Okay, I'm sorry, I'm done with my opera glasses. I'm putting them down now. Okay, anyway, I'm sorry, my mind wanders sometimes, but people are 50 or 100 feet away. So the earliest films, they're overacting. And of course, because these same actors came from the stage. That makes sense, right? Broadway to Hollywood. Does that make sense, right? Okay, so you do see some overacting in the silent films. In a way, it has to happen because you don't have words. At best, you had music and sound effects happening in the background. Local theaters would often have a piano or an organ to play while the film was playing, the silent film. You had comedies. Actually, I'd like to show you, I hope this would not make them mad. I want to mention Charlie Chaplin, Harold Lloyd, and Buster Keaton. And there's so many others. Laurel and Hardy, so many others. I want to show you less than a minute of a particular Charlie Chaplin film, okay, just to give you a flavor of some of the silent film comedies. Okay, I'm sorry I'm smiling. There's so much imagination in them. Okay, so now you'll know it's a silent film. Charlie Chaplin is the one in the hat. Okay, that was signature. That was a trademark thing. His hat and his cane and the way he would walk. This was a trademark that I don't know if it's trademark, but it was the way that he moved and things like that. Very, very popular actor 100 years ago. And you'll see the champ, the man he's going to be boxing, lift his arm at one point, and then Charlie Chaplin goes like this. So it kind of tells you that this is not an even match. This is watch out, okay? Let me show you this for less than 1 minute, okay? I hope no one is upset, and I recommend that you watch Charlie Chaplin films. Look online, look at YouTube, or go to your library, or go online, eBay, or some video shop, or on Netflix if they have it, and watch some of this. Take a look. Okay, pretty exciting, huh? Did you like that? Isn't that well choreographed? I just love that scene. It's so funny. Harold Lloyd, I'm not going to go into this, but one of his great films, well, he's got several great films. The Freshman, Safety Last. Have you ever worked in a factory-type environment? Safety first, safety first. Well, in this particular Harold Lloyd film, comedy film, called Safety Last. It's a very, very funny film. Okay, we're done with the silent. Let's transition to talkies. Howard Hughes, kind of a crazy man, but he had unlimited money. He filmed a movie called Hell's Angels. He actually filmed it twice because he first made it as a silent film, and then the talkies came out. They started, so he refilmed the entire movie to make it a talking motion pictures. He spent so much money. I don't remember how much it was, but it was at that time an unbelievable amount of money making Hell's Angels. Okay, I mentioned Metropolis was a German film. There's a Russian film I'd like to mention called Man with a Camera. Man with a Camera. It's a silent film, 1930. Very well done. It shows street scenes. It shows what Russian city life looked like almost 100 years ago. Another silent film, I don't have this on my list, Nanook of the North. I think it was around 1915, 1916. Nanook of the North is such an, for me, I love history, such an interesting film. I'll show you a couple pictures from it. Okay, now transitioning into the talkies. Another German film, which is really good, is M, just the letter M. It's got Peter Lorre in it. So it's a German film. Fritz Lang was the director of it. I think he's the producer-director, Fritz Lang. And it shows Peter Lorre as a man with some real problems. And in the town they're in, the children are being attacked and sometimes come up missing. Okay, so that tells you the theme of the movie. And it is a very interesting German film. It also shows that many Germans had normal, I'm going to use the term God-fearing, normal values of right and wrong. And that's 1931. In 1932, they put a crazy man named Adolf Hitler in power as chancellor over Germany. So some of this is like you look at this in the time frame of when it was, and it's like, how can these two things coexist where many of the average people in the German public have normal values of right and wrong, and yet right around the corner is this subculture that is about to ascend into power and then put Germany under the Nazis. By 1932, and then another election in 33, Hitler wanted to consolidate Nazi power. By 1935, it was too late, and pretty soon, of course, all of Europe is at war, and millions, tens of millions of people are killed. Okay, I want to jump to the other side of the world. Akira Kurosawa, He made so many excellent films, Akira Kurosawa. One of his most famous ones was 47 Ronin. I think that was about 1947 or 1949. I'll put it up here. I made my list, but then I keep thinking of movies here, movies that I love that I've seen, okay? But Akira Kurosawa has some excellent movies. 47 Ronin tells a uniquely... If you have Japanese friends, or you do work with a Japanese company or something like that, watch 47 Ronin and then talk to your Japanese friends about it, because this tells you some things about honor as it's understood in Japan in the samurai era, and it may help you to relate to Japanese people. There's so many movies I would like to mention, which I'm not going to, but one of them I'd like to mention, It Happened One Night, with Clark Gable and Claudette Colbert. I think that's how she pronounced her last name. Colbert. It Happened One Night. What was the studio called? Republic? Columbia? I think it's called Republic Pictures. It might be Columbia. Okay. Clark Gable, I'll just give you the brief version of the story. He was a huge star, one of the biggest, if not the biggest star in the world at that time, on MGM. Clark Gable, leading man. He got in trouble with MGM because he had turned down, this is the story, excuse me, I don't know if it's completely true, but he had gotten in trouble with the studio for turning down a particular script he didn't like. So as punishment, they sent him to do a movie in Siberia. That's what the nickname for, I think it's Republic Pictures was, because if you made a picture with them, your movie will never be seen. No one's going to watch it, because they were like the also ran kind of, their A movies were below B grade movies of other studios. This is the time of the studio system, the 30s and 40s. You had Warner Brothers, you had 20th Century, you had Fox, you had Metro and Goldwyn and Mayer, which came together, MGM. You had all the big studio system at that time. Okay, excuse me, I'm getting into details too much. Anyway, they sent Clark Gable to do a movie at Republic as a way to kind of punish him or whatever, okay? And they have this unknown director. Nobody's ever heard of this guy. What's his name? Frank what? Who? What's his name? Frank Capra. Have you heard that name? If you love old movies like me, you've heard that name, Frank Capra. Well, he was unknown until this movie. 1934, It Happened One Night. I don't want to pump it up too much. Just, if you get a chance, watch it. See if you can get it. Either buy it or watch it online or get it from the library or something. 1934 with Clark Gable and Claudette Colbert. 1942, Casablanca. I'm almost done here. Casablanca. I have sometimes told people, you've never seen Casablanca with Humphrey Bogart and I'll put the 3 stars up here. It's actually 4 stars up here. But 1942 Casablanca. You've never seen Casablanca? I don't even want to talk to you. Please watch Casablanca. It's a great romance. It's a war film. In World War II, it shows the desperation of people trying to escape the Nazis, the fascists, trying to escape Europe, trying to get to America or Canada, anywhere in the Western Hemisphere, trying to get away from the dictators. Okay, I am done. Thank you for watching. God bless you. Goodbye.